What is up, everyone? This is Joe Rowan, your lead fantasy analyst at Just Baseball. And today I want to talk to you about my top third base options for 2025 fantasy baseball. And right off the bat, I just want to tell you all that the hot corner, it includes both safe and risky plays, depending on your strategy. So, without further ado, let's check out my rankings. Coming in at number 10 is Alec Boehm, who just snuck into the top 10. And if not for a torrid April, Boehm probably wouldn't even be part of my third base rankings. Yet, he did produce in that month, and he's been a questionable performer in the past, but he did have overall a pretty solid year. Um, but to be honest, I'm really not a huge fan of his player profile. Now, he'll provide good batting average, sure. Yet, I preached for a long time that the home runs is the single greatest measuring stick when it comes to factoring in who will be on my fantasy team. Um, and Bohm, he doesn't hit homers in a large quantity. He's more of a line drive type of hitter. And, to put it simply, no power equals less opportunity for healthy counting stats. He has also never reached an 800 OPS in any qualified season, which is cause for concern. If you feel confident in the Phillies lineup, draft Bone. At the same time, if you chose Max Muncy or Eugenio Suarez at third base instead, I wouldn't hold anything against you. Next, at number 9, we have Alex Bregman, the big offseason acquisition for the Boston Red Sox. And this is a safe selection. This option kind of comes with what I call the boring tax. And that means it's a sure thing, it's a sure thing that boring can win championships if you know who to trust. And that's a sure thing when it comes to fantasy baseball. While Bregman's play style isn't sexy necessarily, he gets the job done often. His last 3 seasons have been almost identical in every way. We know his pitch recognition is elite and he'll take his walks. He's got a good eye, good OBP. We know the power will be somewhere in the form of 25 long balls. He could hit a lot of doubles. He could hit 40, 50 doubles with the Green Monster at Fenway. So he could be a dangerous hitter this year, and I'll be selecting him, especially at what's a pretty cheap ADP thus far. In 98 career plate appearances at Fenway Park, Bregman slashing 375, 490, and 750 with a 1.240 OPS, including 7 homers and 9 doubles. It's pretty wild. Next up at number 8, we have Junior Caminero. And he's a top breakout candidate, folks. Saw the other day he smacked a homer in spring training. Even though we haven't seen the big time numbers, which we all crave from this young cat, his time is coming. Bat speed, it's encouraging. He's going to have an everyday role. It remains to be seen exactly what this race team will look like come opening day. There's some upside. They could also slip and fall kind of like they did last year. We'll see. He's a former number 1 overall prospect, and I believe we will start to see some of that light shine through in 2025. And in 117 minor league games back in 2023, Caminero hit 31 homers with a 976 OPS. So it's nothing to sneer at. It's hard to say he'll put up that type of production in his first full season in the majors. Might take it a little bit of adjusting, but I like his future. Number 7 is Mark Vientos. This dude was the truth last year. A great waiver wire pickup for myself. Boy, oh boy. He was a league winner for a lot of people. Several, fantasy owners are thanking their lucky stars for Vientos because third base was not deep last year, and there were definitely some the waiver wire was dry as the year went on. And after the initial decision to send him down for more development at the beginning of the year by the Mets, Vientos appeared to have enough of he appeared to have enough of them. And once he got called up, there was no looking back. In just 111 games, he smacked 27 home runs, 71 RBIs, and anyone who was quick enough to grab him off waivers, extremely happy. And credit to the Mets organization for their patience and development with this guy, because the last few seasons were a little bit of a struggle when he got to the majors, but he rose to the occasion when they needed him most. So I like Vientos again in 2025 for sure. Power, it might slip a little bit in average, but I like the power for sure. Next is number 6, and that's Jazz Chisholm Jr. And I think he can flourish in New York as he did last year. It was kind of odd with Jazz, in Miami. He just seemed to be sleeping. Once he came to New York, he woke up and all his numbers were like double what they were in Miami. It was crazy. Although I don't like his ADP, he's going very early this season. We're talking third, fourth round. So not a huge fan of that. However, he's a very streaky player. So that's good and bad when it comes to fantasy. It's great when he's on a streak, terrible when he's not. So he did have 40 thefts last year on the base pass and 24 home runs. So that's huge production. We would all love that on our fantasy teams. And I don't know, to be honest, I was shocked at his final stat line. Um, he's always been talked about as having the potential to put up such numbers, and he did. So I'd like to see it 2 years in a row, and we'll see if he can finally be that guy. Number 5 is Manny Machado, and he continues to be just a consistent elite choice. He's going to hit you 30, 35 bombs. His OPS is going to be right around 850, 900. He plays in a great lineup. Do I have to say any more? I mean, that's just everyone says Manny being Manny when he's on around the field. Nah, Manny just being Manny being Manny being Manny is consistency across the board. And I love Machado once again this year. Next up is Royce Lewis. He's got a sky-high ceiling, people, and you might be saying, how in the world could you put Lewis ahead of Machado? I know, it's a risk, but those are the type of the risks that you need to take in fantasy if you're going to get that upside and that league-winning player and win a championship, Rankings lunacy, I know. You mean to tell me the guy who had that horrible ending to 2024, the horrible slump after the guy Roy said, I don't slump, and then he went on one of the worst slumps I've ever seen? Yeah, I stand by it. The fact still remains what we saw from Lewis in 58 games during 2023 was special. Same goes for his start to the 2024 season. He's not a guy who will play 162 games. He's going to be out of lineup probably about once a week, twice every couple weeks. But if he plays even just 140, 130, 140, the sky's the limit. He could hit 40 bombs. Not joking. Next, we delve into the top 3, and we start out with Austin Riley. And he's a reliable contributor. He's kind of like Machado. He's consistent. He got hurt last season, which was a bummer. But it was a year that was lost for the entire Braves offense, essentially, besides Marcell Ozuna. But they're all back. This Braves lineup is dangerous again in 2023. They led the league in offensive production, and they're going to be back to that team, I believe, this year. So invest in Riley where you can. Number 2 is Rafael Devers, and he's just, what more can you say besides he's tremendous? People don't like his feeling, but it doesn't really matter in fantasy, does it? The only struggle for Devers this season was catching up to velocity, and that was mainly in the second half of the season, and I think that was a lot of the shoulder inflammation which caught up to him. But this guy, I mean, he's great. There are a few arguments to be had against Devers. Career line sits at 279, 345, 511. It's great. He averages 33 bombs, 105 RBIs on a 162 game pace. And this Red Sox lineup is going to be dangerous, people. I'm telling you, invest with confidence because Devers is going to be right behind Jarren Duran, in front of Tristan Casas, Alex Bregman. He's going to be great. And finally, first selection, the best third baseman when it comes to fantasy baseball, probably the best third baseman overall in MLB and baseball, is Jose Ramirez. He's the gold standard, people. Anyone not ranking J-Ram as the best third baseman, what are you doing? What are you doing? I would like to hear some reasoning behind it because this guy does nothing but perform. In 2024, he had himself yet another quietly amazing season, falling one home run short of a 40-40 campaign. And their last game of the season was actually canceled for good, which was too bad. Would have liked to see him go for that. Nobody else at the position has shown this type of play, solidifying him as the best at the position. So invest in the utmost confidence in J-Ram. He's probably going to be number 5 overall, but he's worth it because you can slot him in at third base and He can have a 40-40 year again. So with that, that is my top third base rankings for Fantasy Baseball 2025. Hope you all enjoyed. I'd love for you guys to hit that button, subscribe. I'll be with you here all season long on Just Fantasy Baseball. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. You'll have Joe for the advice. Also, don't be afraid to follow me on Twitter at JRose34. Slide in my DMs, talk to me about fantasy baseball. Talk to me. I'll talk you guys' ears off about fantasy baseball all day, every day. So with that, until our next player ranking, have a good one.